Hello and welcome to Sri Lanka 99.94 Cricket Every Day. My name is Mark Machado from the Murali End, and I'm joined as always by Estelle Devon from the Papare. Sri Lanka 99.94 is your new home for Sri Lanka content. We're dropping into your podcast feed on YouTube and on the 99.94 app several times every week. So please do rate, review and subscribe. Thank you for joining Cricket's Conversation. Today we are talking about the squad has finally been announced for Sri Lanka's ODI series against Afghanistan. We're recording this for you Thursday lunchtime for me, Thursday late evening for Estelle. I'm never really sure when evening becomes night. The squad's been out for about 2 hours, maybe 90 minutes. The game is due to be played on the Friday, so it's probably been released less than 24 hours, or about 24 hours before the game's scheduled to start, which is quite extraordinary, isn't it, Estelle?
Yeah, crazy. I think there was genuinely a thought that we might not actually get an official announcement because the team's already training in Pallakali. I think there were 20 to 25 players training. So final 15 wasn't named, and I for real thought that we wouldn't see a 15-member squad before the game actually started tomorrow.
I was getting ready for like what I would say if that was to happen. I was like, is this innovative? Is this something, is this the innovation that we're used to from Sri Lankan cricket? Is it starting to transpire through our administrators? Are SLC trying to do something? Are they trying to get, is this one-upmanship against Afghanistan? It's impossible to know who you're going to face if you don't know what the squad is. That said, there is this other issue with Charmaka as well, where we were initially told in the initial press conference for when they announced the LPL dates, which was 10 days ago? Maybe a little bit longer, maybe about 2 weeks ago, where they said he wouldn't be picked for it wasn't to do with discipline, it was about form, but actually it transpires it likely is to do with discipline, even though that's not explicitly said in the press release we got from SLC.
But why would you say that, right? Why would you say it's not discipline related and then take disciplinary action against him like a week later?
Yeah, it's the whole thing's really weird, isn't it? But Sri Lankan cricket, sometimes weird stuff happens. In a way, you got to draw a line underneath it. I've had loads of messages from people on Twitter asking me what exactly he did. All I know is that there was some incident in a casino in Brisbane. I don't know anything beyond that, so please don't ask me anything else. I generally have no idea. I don't know if Estelle knows anything else. I don't know what the rumours are swirling around Colombo and Candy about it. I try not to deal with rumours anyway. We know that he's got a fine. He's got a suspended sentence, though to me the whole suspended sentence is a bit moot anyway. It's neither here nor there, and apparently it won't affect his career, and we suspect I imagine at some stage he'll be back in the squad. Who knows when or who knows how. I think he's going off to Abu Dhabi, is he, to play
He's
T10s?
already there, I think. Yeah.
He's there. So hopefully he enjoys that. I do love watching that because it's so wild. And at some stage we will have to talk about it because we've got a T10 competition for the men's and the women's starting in Sri Lanka next year. But today, Estelle, we're talking about the Afghanistan squad, or for these 3 ODIs. These 3 ODIs are actually quite important for Sri Lanka, aren't they?
Yeah, very important for Sri Lanka if they want to get direct qualification into the World Cup next year. There's still actually a very real chance that even if they do win all 3, they might still end up having to play the qualifiers. So, they're going to have to deal with it. They haven't played particularly well in the ODI Super League. Unfortunately, it's not going to continue. But for this World Cup, they haven't done well. Afghanistan are in a much better position, I think, 12 games, 10 wins. But Sri Lanka, 10th place already. They're going to have to, I think, win at least 4 to 5 games. That is, they've got 3 against Afghanistan and 3 against New Zealand next year, and also hope that maybe South Africa takes a few losses so that they can move into the top 8. So Yeah, very important, but it might not matter in the end. We don't know, but they'd want to go. I think they'd want to come away with 3-0 scoreline.
Yeah, the other thing to consider is that on the assumption that Sri Lanka make it to the World Cup, and again, I could be doing a lot of assuming over there. They will have to. The World Cup's in India next year. Asian conditions. It's a good opportunity. I think potentially we've got a squad of, and obviously it depends on the fitness of players and so on and so forth. But I look at this team and I look at the bunch of players that are involved in international cricket for Sri Lanka at the moment, and I do think that the ODI format potentially suits us the best from the resources we have available. I should also caveat that with, I'm sure there's other teams who think the same as well. I'm sure England think they've got a great white ball team. India will obviously have a great white ball team. Australia will probably think they've got a good white ball team as well. So, but that's, all that said, I think we should be aiming slightly higher, or to be a bit more competitive than we were in the T20 World Cup, just because it feels to me like we're more suited to playing a slightly longer format of the game, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if you look at our side, one of the biggest problems Sri Lanka have always had, is this whole big hitting and scoring quickly. So in ODI cricket, you kind of have a little bit more leeway when it comes to that. I also think it'll depend a lot on the conditions. I mean, if you're getting tracks where 320, 350 is par, then Sri Lanka might find it a bit tough. The biggest advantage they will have again is, I think, advantage or their biggest strength will be the bowling lineup. So they are going to have to depend a lot on the spinners. One Indu, Mahesh. I'm sure Dhananjay De Silva will play a big role. Someone like Dunit Velalage, who I think they're kind of pushing towards that all-rounders position that Karunaratne has vacated, at least for this series. So the bowling lineup is going to be the one that, if Sri Lanka is going to make an impact, is going to matter. But definitely in Indian conditions, you have to aim higher than you've been aiming for the last two World Cups, because those conditions are going to suit, or we'll hope are going to suit, Sri Lanka.
I was going to say, what do you expect? But who do you expect to be opening the batting for Sri Lanka against Afghanistan? Because we talked about this briefly off air, and you came with what I would consider at this stage a left field name, but you had reasoning behind it.
No, look, this is not my pick, obviously, as opener, but if you look at the squad, Sri Lankan selectors haven't picked an out-and-out opener, right? In the side, apart from Nisanka, they haven't picked anybody to replace. So, in the previous series, Sri Lanka last played ODI cricket against Australia in, was it August? So Danushka Gunitilaka and Eroshan Dikwella were the guys who were partnering Nisanka on that occasion. But they haven't picked. Obviously, Gunatilaka is not available. Dikwella is available but has not been picked. So they haven't really picked an out and out opener, which is to me very disappointing. With World Cup coming up in 12 months, you should be kind of putting somebody who you hope to be playing in that position come India 2023 there. But looking at the squad, it seems like we might see Dinesh Chandimal at the top of the order. I'm not really sure the other option, with Bhanuka Rajapaksa also kind of pulling out. I was thinking, like, my mental gymnastics were that Dhananjay De Silva opens and then Bhanuka Rajapaksa slots in the middle order. But without Bhanuka, I mean, it feels like there's no other choice but to play Chandimal at the top. Of course, Kusal Janit Pereira, Avishka Fernando, not fully fit at the moment. I'm sure those will be the two guys who they are looking at to eventually come into the side and play in India.
Let's take a quick break there, because there's a lot to discuss, including the other players who've got into the squad as well as, or back into the squad as well as Chandimal as well. Because, yeah, I think the way I envisioned it was quite different.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So Estelle, before the break, you suggested you think Chandimal might open. I should reiterate here, we're trying to second guess what the selectors might end up doing, right? My thought is they'll stick to what worked with the T20 side, which was for Kusal Mendis and Pathum Nissanka to open. And I thought it'll be in the kind of middle order around the all-rounder set bit, that they might mix stuff up. We all obviously know Charmika's not involved. I have absolutely no idea what is going on with Bainika Rajapaksa, whether he's going to play this. Presumably he wants to play an ODI World Cup. I'd imagine so. But who knows? I saw something going around on Twitter this morning that looked to me like it wasn't legit, but it could be legit. Who knows? That he may well retire. I don't believe that's true. I think he'll want to play it. And I think if he's available, I assume they start him. But I also think you don't bring someone like Chandimal back into the squad, if you have no intention of playing him. So I thought maybe somebody else would drop out from the middle. I think Vilalagay is the person who comes in at home. And I kind of think I'm not really sure what the fitness is for the rest of the seamers, but I think the rest of the team almost around it kind of picks itself, right?
Yeah, I think Vilalagay was, you have to pick him now. He did so well against Australia just in his first series. The only change I see from what we saw there was obviously the opening position. And then instead of replacing Charmika Karunaratne with someone like Dhananjay Lakshan, almost a like-for-like replacement, they will probably play two quicks. So against Australia, they played Dushmantha Chamira and then depended on Charmika, Dasun Chanaka kind of filling up a little bit of that pace bowling. So this time, I feel like they will go with Rajitha and Lahiru Kumara. I'm a bit nervous about, how well they'll hold up. Obviously, these guys are just coming in after injury. They played the T20 World Cup, of course, but 4 overs versus, having to complete 10 overs in these games, it's not going to be easy. Hopefully, they can get through these 3 games, because there's a lot of cricket coming up for Sri Lanka in all 3 formats in the next year or so. So, now it's about time that Sri Lanka start kind of settling in on who they want to take on that ODI World Cup, for the ODI World Cup. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Chamira obviously will come back into the side once he's fit. Same with, I think, Avishka Fernando, Kusal Janit Pereira should be brought straight in when they are fit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not convinced about the opening position. I just think, no offense to Dinesh Chandimal, but he's been tried and tested and he hasn't done well in limited overs cricket. So it might have been it might have been the perfect time to bring in a young player. But Vilalagay, I'm very excited to see again, because he seems like the kind of guy who's got the right attitude. Kind of slotting in that kind of scrappy attitude coming in that lower middle order, and also with the ball. So my 11 would probably look a lot different from yours, in the sense that the order will look different. So I think they'll stick to the same, where they have Asalanka at 5, Shanaka at 6, Dhananjay De Silva 4, Kusal Mendis 3. I feel like they won't mess with his kind of his position in ODI cricket.
Let's see what happens, right? The two, obviously looking forward to watching all the Sri Lankan players perform and play well. But the two players when it comes to batting, who I'm looking particularly to watching are Nasanka and Asalanka, because I just think they're so early in their careers. Almost, Pathum had a really good T20 World Cup in the end, I thought. Asalanka not so great, but I just they're such exciting talents. I think there's a lot more to come from them, and I think ODIs are going to be the format potentially where we get to see the best of them because they get to bat longer. If they get to bat, who knows? But the other player we should mention is Dhananjay Lakshan, because he's the person who feels like he's kind of been brought in from being out of the squad for a little while. I saw him play when he was here with the development side in England over the summer. He's a lovely bowler. He can bat a bit. I think he was an all-rounder at school, but the most striking thing about him are his eyes. They're unbelievable. If you don't know what, it's well worth Googling it. He has eyes like I've not seen on any other Sri Lankan person in my life. But maybe that's because I haven't seen
Wait till you meet my dad then.
Oh, really? Has your dad got similar blue?
Yeah.
He's got blue eyes, isn't he? Is it blue or green he's got?
Isn't it hazel? I don't know. I haven't looked at his eyes. My dad's eyes are like greenish. Yeah.
Like, that's everything in your world just goes out of sync. They're so beautiful. Yeah. And I know that there's a lot of expectation on where he might end up when he fully develops as a player as well.
Yeah, it's weird with him. Did you feel like during that disastrous tour of England, he seemed like one of the guys who they were looking at, to kind of invest in long term, and then he suddenly disappeared for like a couple of years, and now he's back again.
Yeah,
he's developed his batting a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten that he was on that tour till you mentioned it. And I mean, it's interesting because, as you say, there's and I just said it as well. There's a lot of expectation on him and how he might develop. But actually, there's players now who are part of the setup who are younger than him, and who are more established in the team, right? So maybe he hasn't quite developed the way they thought he was gonna develop, or maybe he needed to go away and work on the mental side of the game a little bit more. He was with the development squad, as I said, out in England when he got wickets, and I think he might have got some being in the runs at one point as well over here. So maybe they just thought kind of take him away from the spotlight a bit, give him a bit for exposure, get him playing in other places might help him to reach his full potential. We'll see, but who knows how much cricket he'll end up playing in these three ODIs, if any.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he'll be making the playing 11 actually, particularly because we're playing in Sri Lanka and conditions are going to be more suitable for the spinners.
Yeah. Let's take another break. When we come back, let's have a quick word in Afghanistan, and also talk about what we should be expecting from this 3-match tour.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app, and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So Estelle, obviously Afghanistan in Asian conditions, the one player that we're all going to be worried about is going to be Rashid Khan, right? And this series is, I suppose, it's a matchup with his great rival. His great spinning rival Hasaranga, right, at the top of both ranked 1 and 2. I think they're both ranked 1 and 2 in terms of bowling in T20 cricket. Here they come at it at a slightly longer form of the game. I'm nervous about it because Sri Lankan batters haven't been playing spin particularly well for a little while now. and Rashid Khan could potentially have quite a feast of wickets over the next few days.
Yeah, I think with both sides, like all eyes are obviously going to be on those two who you mentioned. But I really do think the big danger is going to come from the other finger spinners. So Mujib and Mahesh Theekshana are going to have to play a key role, I think, for both sides because, yeah, Sri Lanka doesn't play spin well. But I'm sure they've done plenty of research and, they've got their plans against Rashid Khan, So I do think the other two are going to have a much bigger role to play here. Like you mentioned, T20 cricket is, you've got a 4-over spell and you're done. But here you've got a longer spell. You've got time to kind of settle into your bowling. So those two, I think, are going to be really important for Afghanistan. In fact, for me, one of the biggest threats is Ramanullah Gurbaz. I mean, he's played in the LPL, so he's kind of familiar with the conditions here. He has got a lot of runs against Sri Lanka whenever we've faced them in World Cups. So he's going to be a big threat because I think at the top of the order, what he has to offer, particularly when he has 50 overs to bat, he's going to be a really dangerous player. And Sri Lanka will do well to kind of, have their eye on that batting lineup as well, because there are some really good batters out there.
Yeah, Gurbaz, oh my gosh, in that first edition of the LPL, he was just smacking the ball about a lot, wasn't he? It's unbelievable to watch. Now we've got to face him, hopefully, though, because he's played LPL for a couple of seasons.
And he also played for Candy, I think.
Yeah, I think
so.
Because he's played LPL for a couple of seasons, maybe our bowlers are much more used to bowling to him than they would be other players, particularly in Sri Lankan conditions. What are your right? I'm just going to put this out there. I just think Sri Lanka need to win this series. Like, that is the most important thing, and they need to ideally win it 3-0 and get all 30 points and hope that we don't end up in the qualifiers, right? And I'm guessing you feel the same.
Yeah, of course. Sri Lanka has to win 3-0. I think it's going to be tough I think Sri Lanka will win. If I make a prediction, I'd say 2-1. But 3-0 is going to be tough because that bowling attack is good, and we often kind of overlook the batting, but there are some really good batters in there. Najibullah Zadran, another one who's played the LPL. Muhammad Nabi, of course, everybody knows what he can do. Gurbaz. And then you've got like Rahmat Shah, guys who we haven't heard too much of, who are capable batters, right? Ibrahim Zadran. So I think Sri Lanka won't want to be caught off guard. That's happened, I think, in the last 6 to 8 months, where they've come up against smaller teams, and it has seemed like they haven't really done their homework on those sides. So they'd want to come into this series, particularly in that first game, really make a statement and kind of try to win big, so that that momentum will kind of stay with them through the series.
Lovely. Let's leave it there. Of course, we'll be back through the series. You've been listening to Sri Lanka on 99.94, where we speak cricket every day. Please do rate, review, subscribe. Wherever you get your podcast, please do that. Please do your reviews and leave them there. Leave us comments. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Mark Machado. Estelle is at Estelle_Vasu1, as in the number one. You can also download the 99.94 app as well. Please do that. We just love your comments and your thoughts, whatever we say. We love to hear them, unless it's trolling. No trolls, please. But never miss out. Join our 24/7 conversation on social media and follow us at 9994DM. Cricket every day, your way.